This is going to be a short video tutorial to show you how to model based on reference diagrams. I'm going to open up a new Blender file. I'm going to right click to select the object and I'm going to delete that. We're going to switch views to ortho mode and we're going to go to the front. You see the difference if I go back to perspective, it's not straight on, so we want to be on ortho mode. That's the mode we want to be on. We then push N on the keyboard, which brings up this panel here on the right. And we want to tick background images. Okay, these are images that won't form part of the final model, they're just used as reference. And we're going to add an image, scroll down and click on open. And go to wherever you've got your images. In my case it's in a bunch of folders. Okay, so I'm going to take jet front and open that up, and there we go, we've got the front view of the jet. Okay, and once you do that, if you change this to say front, okay, and the reason for that is so that when you're looking at it from other viewpoints like the top, you don't see the front view. Okay, and then we're going to add another image and move down and open. I'll do it quicker this time because I know what it is. Oops. It's the top, isn't it? Right, so okay, we want to change that to top. So if we now go to view front, we have that there, and if we go to view top, we have that there. And we're going to add one more image by clicking on an image and scroll right down, go to open, find it again, and we're going to go to the side view. Okay, and the side view is going to be for the right. So if we go to view right, we've got the side view. If you go to view top, we've got the top view. If you go to view front. And the reason I'm hesitating here is because if you look at the top view, it's roughly the size of it, and then look at the front, it's roughly about the same width. But if you look at the side, it's the same width, but that should be bigger. Okay, so I've worked this out previously. If you set this one to 7, and that one is roughly correct now. Okay, moving on, we're going to start actually creating the object now. What we're going to use for the main part of the body is a cylinder. So we're on the right hand side, we're going to add a cylinder mesh. We're going to go to add mesh, cylinder, as so. And if you press R on the keyboard, we can rotate it. And you want to try and get this straight when you do this. Although it's not vital, it's better if you can get it exactly straight, which I'm struggling at. There we go. Actually, if you look over here, we can actually set it to exactly 90. Probably should have done that in the first place, that would have been easier. Okay, if we press S, I'm going to resize its height until it's roughly the kind of height of the, roughly the height of this. I'm going to move it as well to more like the front of it, and down a bit there. So It doesn't need to be exactly this, but I'm getting it roughly the height of the main part of the body. We're now going to switch to wireframe mode. And we're going to go to the top view. And we're going to use S to resize it again. Just to make it a little bit narrower this way. And maybe just line it up a wee bit by moving it. And I'm going to... Right, now we're going to scale it, and for this one we're going to use that non-proportionate scaling tool by clicking on this one here. Sorry, this one here. This is the non-proportionate, and we're going to drag it using the green arrow. Right, and then we'll go back to the moving icon there, and we'll move it up, and then we'll resize it again, and we're trying to make it the size of this plane. Again, it doesn't need to be exact because we can change it later, but it's probably better if it is, to be honest. So that's just created a basic cylinder that's the right size. If I look view right now, okay, now what I would suggest you do with this is actually move the background image to match rather than moving the cylinder. So if you go to the right, there's a position here. If we just click on that and try and make it line up. Again, these are only reference images, so it's not vital that it's exact. I think actually the size, just the size a little bit as well. Right, and that's better, isn't it? Okay, go to view top, not bad. View right, not bad. And now we can start to form the shape. What we're going to do is make a bunch of cuts. And the reason we want to make cuts is so that we can adjust the shape. And the way you do cuts is Control and the R key. So we need to go to edit mode first, edit mode first, and then I'm going to make sure you're on that selected. If you're not sure, push A, then push A again, and then do Control R, and this pink line appears, which once you click on you can move. And a lot of the ones we're going to do is down here, so I would suggest you make a couple cuts down here. It's up to you really how many you make. I'm going to make one there. I'm going to Control R again, hit the left button, I'm going to make another one, and so on. Control R again, click, and we've got a bunch of them now, which can be moved as well, as you see there. Okay, what I want you to do now is hit A to select if it's not selected, A to deselect, and then hit B for block select, B, and then you can draw a box around the bottom points. Then we're going to use S to resize, and we're going to pull these to a point if you can get them to a point. Zoom in with the middle mouse button, then I'm going to use shift, clicking the middle mouse button to move so I can get in closer on this. Alright, I'm going to hit A to deselect, B to block select these points, S, and I'll try and get these as close to a point as I can. Right, I think that will do. I think we should be happy with that. Right. Shift middle button to move this, right, and now what we're going to do is a similar process all the way through. A to deselect, B to block select these points, S to resize, and we're going to bring these points in to match the reference image. A to deselect, B to block select that, hit S to resize and bring them in. A, B, S, right, and that's as pretty much got that. Shift and middle button to move up. So for the centre, for this kind of bit is fine. If you look at the side though, if you go to the right, we're going to need more cuts for this bit. No. So what I suggest you do is go back to the top and zoom out a bit, hit A and A to select the whole thing, put Control R, click on the button and go through and make a bunch of cuts because we're going to need them. But we can obviously come back and add more later as required. What I would do before we got off this bit is go to the top of this, hit B, and block select the top ones, hit S and pull that in to roughly the shape that we need at the back. Now you notice that this cut isn't very good, so let's hit A, hit B, block select, and instead of resizing just move them up to about there, and then we'll use S to resize and we'll bring them in. Okay, that ain't bad. Okay, it's really trial and error for this, but that's me got a basic shape. Right, now we're going to do the same kind of process from the side. So we're going to go to the right side. I'm going to zoom in a bit, hold down shift and click the middle button to move. Right, we're going to line it up this way now. So A to A and A, deselect B, select those points, let's move them down. And then to match that tip. A to deselect, B to block select, select that and let's move that down. And if it doesn't fit, let's use S again. Oh, don't use S this time, sorry. There is a very good reason for that. If you use S from the side, it changes the shape from the top. So what one we're going to use this time is that one, that resizing tool, which will not, and use a blue, and it will not resize it from the top. Back to the arrow, and let's move it down. Okay, and it really is now a case of going through this, selecting, moving, resizing. You can imagine for complicated objects it becomes quite a laborious process. You shouldn't really move it too much left and right like I've just done, because if you do that too much, you're going to screw up the shape of the image from the top side. So let's just check I haven't done that. That's fine. Go back to the right and keep going. So A, B, resize, move, resize. It's up to you how much of a perfectionist you want to be about this. I like to get it pretty much exact, but it's really up to you. Right, now you notice here, we really need another cut here, so let's hit A and A and select the whole thing, hit R, click there, and we'll make a cut there, and we'll resize that, and move it up. And let's move along. A, B. Now, again, that one doesn't really need to be adjusted, but as you can see, you can get kind of perfectionist about it. Right, B, select that one, hit, whoops, see before going any further, let's save. Jet. I usually would have saved before this point. Right, B, select that, resize, use the arrow, bring it down. I'm going to go a bit quicker now and stop being quite such a perfectionist. Right, B, A, A, B. I'm going to cut again. Now I would suggest this back bit that we don't be too we don't go too precise in the wee intricacies. You can do that later if you want, but I'm going to just do it quite simply now. And really just approximate it. Okay. If you look now, we've got a basic shape of the jet. Go back to object mode for a minute just to show you what it looks like. And use the middle one to move around. We have got the kind of central shape of your jet taking shape. If you look at solid mode, you'll see to a degree it's starting to look a little bit like what we're trying to achieve. Right, back to wireframe. Back to edit. And let's go back to the right. We push A and A to deselect, and then zoom in right onto the cockpit. Use shift middle button to move. Get in quite tight to the cockpit, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut out the cockpit, and the way you do this is using the knife, which is on this toolbar over here. So you click on knife and get your knife ready. Before we cut, make sure you hit Z in the keyboard, which if you look down here selects cut through, because we need to cut through both sides if at all possible. And then basically click the left button and let's cut right through these guys. If you want to make sure the cut works, try and click on each edge as we move through them. Yeah, just going to see if I can cut right through to that one. There we go, and hit enter once you've done it. And hopefully we've cut all the way through. Now for some reason it's not cut this side properly, do you see that? So what we're going to have to do is cut this side as well. So if we go to view, left. Now usually when I do this you don't have to do this, so I'm not quite sure why it's happened. So we're going to go to knife. We'll leave cut through off this time because we're really just going to try and copy these cuts. And we'll try and mimic these cuts. And I'll hit enter. Right, let's see if that works this time. Well, except we've got a bit here for some reason. Right, so let's go back to left again. We'll use the knife and we'll cut this way. Let's try that again. Knife. And hit enter. Right. Okay, we can extra cut there, but we have managed to cut through it and cut the cockpit out, which is what we were trying to achieve. What we're going to do now is make some materials to go onto this. Now you can push N, by the way, to get rid of this thing here. Right. If you need to, you might need to pull this thing out of it. Right, it's that one there. Just see the kind of circle there, material. And we're going to do a new one. And we're going to add 2 different materials in here. And we'll add a new one in there. So we've got 2 materials now, against material. One's going to be for the main body and one's going to be for the cockpit. For the main body, we'll just go into diffuse down here and we'll choose a black colour. There we go. And then for the other one, we'll choose a lighter colour and we'll do the kind of, we'll set on transparency like we did previously, if you remember, ray tracing transparency like we did in the exercise with the glass. We'll set alpha, which is the main bit, 0.286, change that to 1.4, depth we'll set to 3. The alpha value is the main one, though, it has to be said. That's the one that matters. Why is that not that one? Where is that? 0.25. Right. The alpha is the main one. That says how transparent it is. That's about refraction, and that is the depth. It's all a bit light, those two. The main one is the alpha one. Okay, and you can see now that it's transparent, or semi-transparent should I say. Right, let's go back to the, what doesn't really matter, but we'll go to the right view and zoom out. Right, and let's make sure we're now on face mode from down here, which is there. Okay, what we're going to do is A, which will select everything. We're going to click on this black material and we're going to assign it. And if you change here to solid and change this to object mode, we should be able to see that we've made it black now. So back to edit mode, back to wireframe, let's go to right again. Now we want to select the cockpit separately, so let's zoom in on this cockpit again and see if we can carefully select this. There's different ways you can do this. You could select the faces one by one. If you hold down shift you can manually go through and select them all, but to be honest that's a bit of a pain. I think the better way is to use control left button, right? And what that does is this. Try again. If we do control left button we can kind of draw around like that. And I almost got it there, see that? If I move that around. Just a couple I don't want selected there. Now you should be able to deselect them if I can remember how. Shift control. Right, shift control, we'll see if we can deselect now. Right. Shift control. Shift control to deselect. Okay. And turn this round. I think I want to deselect that thing there. Yeah, there we go. That's not bad, that's it selected, right? And now all we do is click on material 2 and assign. And if we go to object mode and we go to solid, okay. And you've got texture there, you can see it a bit better. The transparency doesn't really show till we actually there's texture mode and there's solid. So texture should be more like what it really looks like in the end. The transparency will show up when we actually render it properly later. So now you can see we're starting to get somewhere. If you add modifier, add subdivision, you can subdivide it or not subdivide it as much as you want. It does make it look smoother. One of the other good things that Blender has is layers, which are basically the same as layers in Photoshop. As you see here, you can have more than one layer selected, or you can have just one layer selected. If you do shift, you see that we can show a bunch of layers. Shift left click, or just left click just shows one layer, but if you do shift select you can show a bunch. So what I would actually suggest you do for this is go to a different layer. And then we're going to go to the top view. Shift this down a bit, because what we're going to do is the wings now. And we're going to go to add, mesh, and add a cube. Right, and let's shift this cube over to roughly where the wing is. You should find this is a simpler shape to make. Okay, change it to edit mode. Go to wireframe again. And basically what we want to do is adjust this shape. Now what you can do is go to point mode, use A to deselect, B to point select, and just select these points and just move the points individually. I would suggest you shove this wing right into the plane. Right, because you can put objects into other objects and then you won't see them because they're right through them. Make sure you deselect before this and then B, pull that down, and over. Don't need to get that in a line, I'm just being a bit anal again. Right, and push that down to there. And again, being a bit of a perfectionist here when it's not really needed. Remember to deselect things, I've got a bad habit of not deselecting. Right, and that'll do from that side, I think. It's close enough. Let's go to the front. Now let's zoom in. Now if you look there, our amazing wing is like nowhere near where it should be, so let's select the whole thing. We're using A twice and move it up. And then we need to make it thinner. Okay, again, bunch of ways to do it, but let's just do the way we've been doing. Now we'll select these, we'll move them down. We'll hit A, we'll hit B, select that one, move it up. Hit A, hit B, select that one, move it up. Hit A, hit B, hit that one, let's move it up. And there we've got wings. Right, that's a very basic wing, but it will do. Okay, now if you use shift, if you go back to object mode and use shift, we can show the two layers now. Okay, so we've got two wings there. What we want to do with this wing is duplicate it. So there's an option here to duplicate. Let's hit duplicate. And it's on top of the other one, as you can see. Move this one back. If you look at the front first. That didn't really work out. Right, so do it from here. Go to rotate. Rotate. There you go. Right. Go at the top. I'm just trying to line it up. Okay, I think that's right. There we go, we've got wings. Now you probably want to just go to your materials. Make a new material here if you want. You can make them a different colour if you want to be a bit different, or you can make them the same colour. You can also pick colours, you see, by doing that. So it's really up to yourself what you do. You can play about and do whatever colour you want. One good thing you can do is see the wee colour picker tool. So if I go to that one, it gives me a new material, but if you click and diffuse, there's this wee colour picker, which means I can do that, which is handy. Okay, if I go back to texture mode and go into object mode, you'll see that that's the done plane. Now you could go on from here, you could add a third layer, and you could add in another shape, and you could make the wings that come at the back of it. You could add in anything you want. You could use cylinders and make rockets. I'll leave that up to you. Make sure that you do a save as at this point, and make sure you're saving it to a valid location. And that's this tutorial complete. Hope that was educational and instructional and fun, hopefully.